It's week 24 of 2018, and this week it's a little Microsoft heavy in our news. We talk about some new features in Office coming out, as well as how they determine what vulnerabilities need to be patched. That and plenty of other stories coming up on the Technado, starting right now. Hello and welcome to the Technado. It is week 24 of 2018. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I'm joined today by, again, not Don Pizzette, who is off gallivanting around the world. But, you know, we've upgraded, and we have Mr. Daniel Lowry, who last time I saw you, we were in front of the Full House out in San Francisco.
Having
that was pretty exciting. Time. This is not as great.
It's not as cool as being on a historic landmark such as the Painted Ladies in San Francisco, but it's a pretty cool office. I mean, Don's got some neat stuff in here. But
I like of all the history in San Francisco, that's a historic landmark.
Yeah,
I didn't see
Alcatraz,
the sign. I didn't see
Wharf, none of that
official history sign, but apparently
it was. Put it up next week. So.
Well, we have a lot to get to this week, and I know a lot of Microsoft news. We got still some follow-ups on Apple from Worldwide Developer Conference, but let's jump right into the news today. And the first story we have is about neither of those things. It's about Intel. This is from Tom's Hardware. So Intel says, we forgot, and there's quotes there, to mention our 28-core 5 gigahertz CPU demo was overclocked. So, Daniel, what does that mean when we say overclocked?
So,
I know about cars and things.
Yeah, so what that means is basically that they were able to push the CPU beyond its normal capabilities to tell it there's basically a multiplier on the board that tells it how fast to run. If you increase the multiplier, well, it's going to increase the speed of the CPU. So that's what they've done. Now, the problem with doing that is it generates a ton of heat. So the problem is with heat by overclocking your CPUs. Now, people have gotten away with doing this by various mechanisms. I've seen as far as people putting plumber's putty around the CPU and a styrofoam cup and filling it up with liquid oxygen, because you can easily get that as like a duster or whatever. That's what's inside of there. It gets really, really super cold. So you can super overclock it for a very short amount of time just to see what the theoretical possibilities are. But typically, if you want to overclock, gamers do this a lot. They will use a water-cooled or liquid-cooled unit of some sort to keep the CPU cool, allowing them to overclock it without burning the chip out.
So basically what we're saying here is in this demo that they showed, well, wow, look at these great specs we have. They were getting specs that are not realistic specs that you can expect to get at home without exploding your computer.
Now, as I read the article, and this is why the term forgot is in air or quotes, literally in air quotes here, it was a scripted presentation. And the person in their haste of showing how cool their new CPU was forgot to use the word overclocked. Right? They just skipped over. Now, someone who is on camera and has a set of notes next to him, things I want to say on camera, I can understand that can happen, which is why they are, again, quoting it and not, there's reasonable doubt to say that they could have just forgotten to use that terminology, but they could have also just conveniently forgotten to use that term to hype it up. It's unlikely they would do that because it's going to be figured out pretty quickly, as it was based off of the visual aspects of what was going on in the video.
Well, it makes me now have to rethink my entire crypto mining rig that I was building, which would have been based off of this. So now I'm going to have to really go back to the...
It's still GPUs all day long.
I guess so. All right. Well, let's move on to our next story here. This one is on Reuters. U.S. sanctions Russians over military and intelligence hacking. So this one I've wondered about because we keep talking about, or you see in the news, oh, this hack came out of Russia, state-sponsored, or this hack came out of here and was state-sponsored. But, you know, are we hitting back or what are we doing? So I guess this is kind of our way to hit back.
It's definitely a way to hit back to say, hey, don't do business with Russian-based commerce sites and that kind of thing. I think it harkened back to when we had sanctions on Cuba for, being a part of,
Being
Russia.
bad.
Trying to put missiles 90 miles away from us that would blow us all to hell. But so same kind of idea here where we say, hey, you know what? We're just going to stop using you as a resource and seeing you as any kind of friendly, and we're going to make that delineation by cutting off as many ties as we can through sanctions. It is a powerful mechanism for letting people know you're angry at them.
Yeah, and I think they're specifically, sanctioning some of the companies or the people that were directly involved with these things. Which is, oh wait, my Kaspersky has shut down this whole website now, so I can't get any of the news about that. That's odd, but yeah, I think this is something we'll continue to see, and be interesting to see the reaction.
From what I saw was that Trump wanted Russia to come back to the G8 summit or the G7, yeah, and said they would be very important to have back in. So it's weird. I don't know. We're sanctioning them, yet we're saying it would be important to have them back as a collaborator in some way, shape, or form.
Collaborator, that's a good term.
Yeah.
Just convenient.
Not collusion.
Yeah, colluded. No collusion. It's a witch hunt. Moving on to another sensitive topic that we shouldn't get too deep into.
Oh yeah.
This article on CNET. Net neutrality is really officially dead. Now what? And for those that don't know what happened recently, basically there wasn't a new law passed or anything. It was basically that the FCC said we're not renewing these protections that were put in place in the past. So
plus they're transferring the oversight to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission.
Oh really?
Yeah. I don't understand that, but that's part of it.
Yeah. So those rules that were in place basically to stop companies from throttling or giving priority access or those kinds of things are now not in place. So it's not like something happened where someone started offering those services right away, but it's something that now could be offered. And
theoretically.
Geez, with that merger they're talking about, which I guess isn't finalized now because there's new players in it, but between Comcast, Fox, who else was involved? I can't remember the third company now, but or AT&T.
Yeah. AT&T.
Yeah, I mean it's all going to be one company soon anyway. So what does it really matter? You're going to give the AT&T internet.
You go to the internet. Yeah. It is the internet, and there's no other way to get to it other than the ISP. They should just call it that, the ISP.
Yeah, and this is one I don't think. We certainly haven't seen the last of, because I know, like California, for example, was already talking about their own net neutrality regulations. So it's going to be
coming down to state law.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same kind of thing you have with your mattress, where you've got on the tag. It's also, and this doesn't meet California standards for XYZ. So, or you're going to see a lot of services. This service not available in California because they don't let us throttle your internet. Jerks.
I'm not touching it.
You're not touching
plutonium.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very heated debate, and there are strong opinions on the minutia of how this is going to look ultimately. And
you're in the pocket of big telecom, aren't you?
I'm not in the pocket of anybody. I'm in the pocket of I ain't touching it.
Daniel takes money.
With a 10-foot pole.
Calling you out.
I'm not taking a stance. I'm Switzerland in this business.
Okay. Good luck getting there without the internet. All right. My favorite URL for this week goes to this one, which is www.omgubuntu.co.uk, which rolls right off the tongue.
That's amazing. Isn't it?
America. Why are we reading this about
America?
Why are we reading about this on a UK site? America unveils the world's fastest supercomputer, and yes, it runs Linux. Because I'm sure that was what the question that you were asking. So. This thing is huge.
It is impressive. IBM jumping out here with so China apparently held the title up until IBM now released Summit, the all-new $200 million supercomputer of amazement. And boy, is it quick. They have some specs in here, I think, where they talk about how crazy fast it is. It's twice the speed of China's Sunway previous.
It's over 4,600 compute nodes.
Yes. Each node made up of 2x 22-core IBM Power 9 CPUs and 6x NVIDIA Tesla V100 accelerators. Here's how many. If you crunch the numbers in those stats, you'll learn that Summit's overall CPU, core, and GPU count stands thus: 9,216 IBM Power 9 CPUs, 202,752 Power 9 cores, and 27,648 NVIDIA Volta GPUs. That's why we have. It's not the crypto mining problem. They've been building this supercomputer.
I see. Yeah.
Now we're out of GPUs.
Right, there's a shortage.
Them all in this thing.
Here's my question about something like this, and tell me if you can answer this. But how is this considered a supercomputer and not just a bunch of different computers networked together?
So it is a bunch of computers networked together, but they share. So they have a mechanism that distributes parts of the processing throughout the different actual systems.
So it's almost like a cloud. You're
so
spreading out
you
the
could
load.
do this through cloud. That's exactly right. You're taking a little bit of the stuff you need to compute, and you give it to this computer. Taking a little bit, give that computer. You take a little bit, give that computer.
Okay.
It does its business, returns the result, and it all comes back into one interface that you can get the results from. So
And the results are, a quote, a task that would take a desktop PC 30 years to complete can be done in 1 minute using Summit.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty crazy.
I want to see Summit versus Watson on Jeopardy. Or play chess. I don't know if they'll play chess. I wonder if Summit talks, because I remember hearing that Watson, you see those commercials.
Yeah.
It didn't apparently talk.
Yeah.
And then the marketing team came out with these commercials where it talks. They're like, so everyone comes now. They're like,
it talk.
how to make it talk? And they're like, it doesn't really talk.
It doesn't talk. Then they had Deep Blue. I think Deep Blue was the one that beat.
Was that the chess one?
Yeah, the chess one.
Okay.
So IBM's been doing this for a while.
Yeah,
it's not their first rodeo.
And apparently now China's in the running as well, but I'm sure they're working on the next one, knowing that China is working on the next one.
Peak performance of 27 petaflops.
That's a made-up word.
That's Titan. That's the former US one. This one is 200 petaflops. That's insane.
Thought you got arrested. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got a long list of Microsoft content to get to today. It's Microsoft week, which
really is
deserving because we had Apple a couple weeks ago. But there's been a lot of stories this week about Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is getting a simpler, cleaner look. And I remember, what was it, Office 2012 or 2016 when the ribbon came out, and
2007, I thought.
And it got busier, but it also
it was a paradigm
digestible
shift.
Yeah.
From what people were used to before that. It was like everyone was up in arms. What is this garbage? And now, of course, it's the de facto standard. Everybody's like, I just love my ribbon. Where's my ribbon? What have you done with the ribbon? You move anything, people get crazy. But now they're looking for a cleaner look. They want it to not be so jumbled messy.
Yeah, they're saying the updated ribbon. So it's basically they're still using that format, that formula, but really
just cleaner,
simplifying it. Yeah, but it looks pretty cool.
It does,
and I think when you look at a lot of things in Office, it's intimidating, and you think, gosh, I thought I knew Excel, but I don't know what half these buttons even mean. So my guess is these things are all still there. They're just kind of hidden in different menus that you've got to go find them.
That's exactly right. Now, all the stuff you once knew is now ancient history, other than the concepts of how it works. Now you have to relearn where to find everything, which is just a battle of frustration and anger. So just be prepared for that. And a lot of times it's just they do this stuff. They say, oh, we want to make it cleaner so that you can go and buy and, have to do training and learn new stuff and requalify your skills you've already proven 6 times over and pay us some more money.
Now, is this all Office 365 stuff? Because I'm looking at these. It says the company announced Wednesday it will be rolling out subtle changes to the Office.com and Office 365 app designs, which honestly is kind of where it's all going. I think.
Yeah. That's what they want you to do.
Yeah. By the next release, there probably won't be a one that you can put on your machine as much as just a subscription. But that's
and really
what they're showing here in these images.
With you, that's really the way to go, in my opinion, just because I don't have to install anything. I don't have to deal with license keys. I don't have to deal with any of that junk that comes along with installing a client and making sure it's patched and updated. It's all done by Microsoft. I just log in and enjoy it.
And from a help desk perspective, I mean, think about taking away all that install headache of going and installing these on all these different machines. Think about the storage that you're saving on the machine with not only the application itself, but then all the files. If that's all in the cloud, then that you're saving money as a company. I can give you a Chromebook, and you can do all these things now.
My mom, a couple months ago, she was starting a new job. She's like, I need to buy a laptop. What should I get? I go, what are you doing? Well, I got to do some document stuff, and I go, just go buy a Chromebook. Yeah. Everything's in the cloud now. She's like, well, what if I have to do my banking or something? I go, that's done through a web portal. It's a cloud service. You just log in. So
Yeah, if you basically ask, well, what programs do you have? Well, I use Chrome.
yeah, I use Chrome. Exactly.
Well, okay, you should be fine.
The Office 365 account. Yeah, okay, there you go with that. You
Yeah.
know, that's the way you should go.
Yeah, and
Unless you need it. Like I have to run virtual machines for what we do, so I need storage. I need some hardware that will run some more intense programs. But if I didn't, I literally would just use a Chromebook all the time.
yeah, makes sense. And the next article we have is from Cult of Mac, which I'm sure is completely unbiased.
Cult of Mac.
Microsoft Office 2019 for Mac previews, improved inking features, and more. And inking, boy,
Inking.
that's
We were discussing
what the kids are doing these days, right?
definitely.
What is that, Daniel?
I have no clue. I have yet to find.
I like asking you a question that I know you don't know the answer
Yeah,
to. Because
yeah.
we were discussing before, and what are we talking about with inking?
It talks about how it looks and some of the things. So new features include a roaming pencil case and ribbon customizations in all these Office apps. There's a focus mode coming in Word, which Excel is getting, while Excel is getting new charts and functions, including concat, text join, IFS, and switch. It's about time. It's about time. I have no idea what those things are. I don't use Excel.
I just clicked over to the FAQ page on Office 2019.
Oh yeah, it was a good.
And
idea.
I did a little Control F for inking. 0 results.
0 results.
So we're gonna. That's your homework, everyone, for this week. Is learn more about inking and tell us what you found.
Yeah.
Over on our Facebook page for ITProTV
hey,
or anything like that. We want to know what you think about inking and what you think it is.
How does
we know
inking
what we think
affect
it
your
is.
life?
So, yeah, it ruins lives.
Hey, I'm a total noob when it comes to inking.
Yeah.
Apparently, I mean, I've just never heard the term.
I'm an inker.
Yeah.
Always been an inker. Well, apparently all the focus that Microsoft has been putting into these new Office updates, they've been able to do that because they're not focusing any more support on Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 in forums. I'm not sure how much time they're really taking to do that.
Do you hear that?
What's that?
It's the collective sigh of the enterprise world out there. What do you mean you're taking away my Windows 7 and 8.1? We're not taking it away, but they are not going to be offering support for it in the forums. So in the Microsoft forums, if you go there for help, they're going to go, sorry, we don't support that here any longer. There's a few other things they talked about, not just 7 and 8.1, but on the software front, the company says it will no longer provide support for Microsoft Security Essentials, IE 10, Office 2010 and 13 as of July. And it is not just software that is affected. Microsoft is also stopping support for Surface Pro, Surface Pro 2, Surface RT, Surface 2, Microsoft Band, and Zune.
They're just stopping the Zune
I know.
now.
Like, you got to give them credit on that the Zune had any kind of support up to whenever they stop it here, either now or soon.
Well,
that's impressive.
Here's the
That's
truth.
hanging on to hope.
Zune
right
doesn't
there.
need support because
no one has one.
No, because it's perfect.
Oh, I think Adam has one.
Does he still have
I think
one?
he does.
Oh, we've got to get that in here and see if we can play with that.
He's
little
like,
bit.
it's a good
I love
player.
the Zune.
Yeah.
I had a Zune.
Did you? You had a
Yeah,
Zune?
well, there was a point where in my old job I was doing a lot of work with Microsoft, so I was going out there a lot. So I actually had a Windows phone for a little bit too, because if you were in a meeting at that point and you had an iPhone up on the desk, they were mad at you.
I thought you just found them by the garbage
Yeah,
in a
ooh,
pile.
Zune, look at this.
Hey, some free Zunes and Windows
What
phones.
does this do? Yeah.
Grab a couple of those.
Yeah, so they're holding all my doors open at home.
Yeah.
But
How do you
yeah,
think
so
that table keeps from wobbling?
exactly. So the Zune is no longer being supported
Yeah.
there. So that's what was banned. I don't know that.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Microsoft Band.
Familiar with that one.
I have a Surface
you know,
Pro
but
at
Band
home,
2
too.
apparently works.
Oh, thank goodness.
They want you to go to Band 2.
Oh,
so.
now I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah,
Microsoft
here it is.
Band.
Band owners are encouraged to look to the
It was
Microsoft
a
Band 2
smartwatch.
forums.
A smartwatch and activity
as in
fitness
a-
tracker.
I'm thinking it's like a garage band competitor over here.
Microsoft Band. Yeah, it's a MIDI player. No,
Gotcha.
it is a fitness band. So
Oh, well, that makes sense.
there you go.
Who doesn't like a good smartwatch, right?
Well, yeah. All right, next. This is an interesting story on Slashdot, and it actually kind of paves the way for our next couple of stories, too. Microsoft explains how it decides whether a vulnerability will be patched swiftly or left for a version update. I mean, that's got to be an interesting conversation that goes on every time something's told to them, because they've got to kind of weigh what's the impact? How many people is this affecting? Is this affecting 2 people or 2 million people? And
Right.
how intrusive will the patch be? Like you have something like Spectre Meltdown,
Right, yeah.
versus
That's
just a
probably
little
needs
thing.
to come out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, it says that the criteria revolve around two key questions, and I'll highlight this for you here. Does the vulnerability violate a promise made by a security boundary or a security feature that Microsoft has committed to defending? And does the severity of the problem, severity of the vulnerability meet the bar for servicing? If the answer to both questions is yes, the bug will be patched with a security update. If the answer to both is no, the vulnerability will be considered for the next version or release of the affected product or feature. I wonder where it falls if one is yes and the other is no. They don't go into clarifying that. They just give you two ultimates.
They have to both turn their keys.
Yes. Separation
that's
of
my
duties
assumption. Yeah.
Dual key functionality.
Well, apparently, this last week, 50 things met those criteria. So our next article over from ZDNet, Windows 10 black screen problems fixed as Microsoft patches 50 security flaws. So, yeah, 50 security flaws. But the black screen issue was people booting up and just booting up to a black screen, which is not what you want.
No, typically that is not the user experience you're looking to have for your customers. But apparently some people were getting that very experience. And
I'd rather have the blue screen.
Oddly enough, they were complaining about this.
Yeah.
I mean...
I wonder where they went to complain.
Computer doesn't work. They're at the local library.
Forum. Yeah.
Dear...
I wrote a letter.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Gates.
That's Gates. He's like, I don't even do this anymore.
You get my address.
I'm like a philanthropist at this point. You guys are still yelling at me like it's my fault.
Yeah, that was happening in Windows 10 version 1803.
1803.
So,
or the Windows 10 April 2018 update.
Oh, fantastic!
Yes,
that's
Keep
what
that
I
in
call
mind.
it. What I tend to call it there. But yeah, so there were 11 critical flaws, 39 flaws rated as important that are fixed. So it kind of goes back to that previous article. That's kind of how that decision is made. If it's critical flaws, we need to get in there right away.
They apparently found some real issues going on with their software, and well, good on them for actually owning up to that and putting out the patches. I mean, really, that's all they can do. You got to be honest. It's a huge code base.
Yeah.
So there are going to be security flaws. There's only X amount of developers that work at Microsoft that are able to look and find these things, and people that are joined in through beta programs and other odds and ends like that to help with the effort of security. So they do the best they can. They got Patch Tuesday that comes around every Tuesday. They release security flaws. I mean, as soon as they know about it and they get a patch fixed, it's out there, and then it becomes our duty as administrators to get it installed, get our systems patched, and keep ourselves secure. So I think Microsoft is doing their due diligence when it comes to these type of things. Really, at the end of the day, when you talk about security breaches, most of the time it's because admins weren't doing their due diligence for whatever reason. They might have good reason to not install a patch, but they've decided to accept that risk for not doing it and leave themselves vulnerable.
Which, so just to clarify, I'm on a Mac here.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to install those patches?
Yes, when patches come your way, they're typically for good reason. There are some that are optional, but if it says anything like critical or security, you probably want to install that. And when I say probably, I mean always.
I saw a post the other day that said, adulting is just clicking remind me tomorrow again until you die.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm guilty of this. I've got 10,000 things.
I'm in the middle of something. Yeah.
I've got to push this off, but I typically try to have a scheduled time where I say, you know what, it's time to install some updates.
Patch Tuesdays.
Yes, I make my own Patch Tuesday. I am running a Mac as well, but I also have Linux.
Yeah.
With Linux, it's kind of easy. I just open my Linux box and I say sudo apt update and sudo upgrade, and
Smart.
It's done.
Well,
typically you don't have to reboot with Linux for.
It's a lot better
updates.
than it was when I used to be on a PC where it would just say, "Nope, we're installing the updates now.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're in the middle of. You're doing a presentation."
One
really?
of my favorite Jack Black quotes. Now this is happening.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember I was doing getting ready for a webinar one time, and it was like 3 minutes before it starts.
Oh,
it's like, we're updating your PC.
Well, when I worked on a help desk, people would always blame anything that went wrong with their computer. Well, I think it updated last night, so that's the problem.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, well, no, we actually perform tests on these things before we release them to production. We have a test bed it's probably not that. It could be. Don't get me wrong. It does happen where updates do break things instead of fix things, or they fix the things they're supposed to fix and break new things. So that does happen, but by and large, updates fix things.
Yeah.
They keep you safe. You should, for the most part, be installing them.
Definitely.
When in doubt, install.
Well, I love this this headline on the Register. It says Talos says, "Here's a serious Windows bug," and Microsoft says, "Chill, it's not that serious." So this goes again back to that article from Slashdot of they're looking at things in a bigger picture, saying, here's what's a security flaw, and here's what is a hey, that would be nice to fix.
Yeah. I didn't actually get a chance to read this article, so let's see here. Microsoft's aware of the vulnerability. It says that they appears to have gone public because it feels Microsoft isn't taking things seriously. What's the giant differ on urgency to fix for exploitable WIM file headers?
Well, that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't sound good at all. But Windows uses the WIMG API DLL to work on WIM files, which uses a proprietary disk image format designed to simplify Windows deployments. If an attacker creates a specially crafted WIM file, they could be able to execute malicious code with the same access rights as the logged-in user, or just crash the system with a denial of service attack. Talos, gotta love that Talos. They've got some great stuff when they do write-ups, man. The detail is definitely there. So when it says provides extra detail here, I guarantee there's extra detail there.
Well, thank you for joining us in this week of Daniel reads articles to you.
Yeah, I'm reading it for myself. I want to know what's up.
We're
with
learning
this.
Together here on the Technado.
It's got a CVSS score of 8.8. That seems pretty bad.
Well,
out of 10. That's out of 10.
Chill.
That does fall under the high category.
I hope that there was an actual quote from Microsoft saying, chill.
So Microsoft, on the other hand, scored it as a 7.3 with a base and temporal 6.6.
Well, which is scary. At a 7.3
so
isn't enough
moderate.
to patch.
Yeah, so that's moderate now. So it's not like high or critical. So their answer is to go, oh, man, yeah, if you score it normally, it's 8.8, but if you do it this way, it's a whole lot less worse. So,
well, there you go.
If you don't like the parameters, you change them.
Exactly. Yeah. We're Microsoft. We change the rules.
Yeah.
Well, our last Microsoft story for the day, here's one from Fast Company. I thought this one was just pretty neat.
Oh, this is cool.
Microsoft is using AI to cut the cloud's electric bill. I think part of this is because they're now sinking their data centers into the ocean, which is helping keep them cool. Yeah, we talked about it last week with Wes here.
Yeah, crazy.
Which is so cool. And in terms of keeping the data center cool,
I'm thinking about the future here, like when we're all using deep sea submersibles and we have to traverse a bunch of wires that are coming up to them.
Well, what I was saying is I feel for the guy that had to be sunk down there with it, because I'm sure there's a tech in there.
I mean, what happens when you got to reboot the thing?
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You call that guy up.
Yeah.
But
it's like the abyss.
Exactly. But not to give away the whole article here, but Microsoft Cloud Services say they're 93% more energy efficient and up to 98% more carbon efficient than traditional enterprise data centers. So this is a little bit more than just turning off the lights when you're the last one out of the room. Using AI, they're able to, I guess, ramp up and down things that they need to throughout the day and figure out when the load is highest and when they need to power up, and they're able to power down those other times, and that's pretty impressive. If as more things move to the cloud, think about if you had one cloud versus 10 different companies with their own data centers who are not using this. That's going to have a pretty big impact in the long run.
I like how it talked about AWS and how they're attempting to do the exact same thing, is to be as energy efficient as possible. But what was interesting, let me see if I can find the area that it talks about AWS doing this. It says that it hopes by the end of 2017 to have it down to 50% or 50% more efficient. And I'm like, this article was written today. So I think they got to, if they did, here it is right here. Amazon announced a commitment to get that number, which is 40% of the power needed is down, or that's what it's using. It uses wind farms and solar to provide 40% of the power it needs to run the data centers in 2016. Amazon announced its commitment to get that down to 50% by the end of 2017. I'm assuming we can now look that up.
Eventually to 100%.
This is a very anachronistic article.
Yeah, can we use the heat generated by the servers as like a geothermal?
Yeah. Can we do that? Can we heat water and that is then used to create energy? I want to see, maybe could.
Yeah, I mean,
perpetual energy
there would
machine.
there would be some loss at some point, but I think it could certainly help. But the big thing for us as consumers is that's going to help us with cost.
Correct.
If they can use less power than we would to do it ourselves, in addition to all the other benefits of the cloud, that should be a good thing for us.
And I've seen that. I've seen my AWS account price go down, and I haven't like reduced it at any way.
They're passing the savings on to you.
They are. I'm getting it.
I think
It's like the Aldi for
exactly. I think it's because people stop visiting your website.
Yeah, well, I don't have a website.
Well, there you go. You should get one.
I'm hacking websites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Pen tester. Ethically hacking.
That's right. Ethically hacking websites.
Ethically hacking.
Moving on.
White hat. Well, we talked about Office 365 and their new look. Well, now we have Meet the new Gmail, now with disappearing messages. So Gmail, if any of you use it, you've probably seen the little pop-up coming up saying, you want to try the new Gmail? Because I think it's kind of in a beta right now where it's not completely rolled out, and because you would have heard more outcry from everyone going, give me the old Gmail back, until they get used to that one and would fight for
I think that's
for
part of the service lifecycle of anything
I hate
new.
it. Wait, why'd you take it away?
I immediately hate this because it's new. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then I will hate it when you take that away from me later.
Yeah.
But the cool thing in here, at first when I read this headline, I said, uh-oh, disappearing messages. Did they have some sort of problem where, hey, you got new Gmail and now your messages are all gone? But it's actually a feature where you can basically set something as something that you don't want others to potentially see.
Right.
So you can kind of set I don't know. It's the Snapchat of email.
Yeah, it's digital rights management.
Expiration
date.
It's
some form of digital rights management to say, hey, I'm able to say after X amount of time, this will disappear, will be gone from the world.
Yeah,
of course,
scroll down there. There's a image of that confidential mode there.
Excellent.
So you can set it to say, I want this to expire in a week or on this date. Even send a passcode. So. I mean, that's basically like you're giving them.
You can go from 1 day to 5 years. I kind of like that part of the feature because as an administrator, I've had to have the sit down talk with plenty of people and go, you have a 12 gigabyte mailbox. Mm-hmm. What's up?
How did you feel that?
This is crazy. Let's start deleting spam and stuff because they were just putting everything in deleted items and treating it as like a archive folder.
Well, I'm thinking of it more from the perspective of every time there's like a Supreme Court nominee, they'll say, "Oh, well, he wrote this article back in 1974 where he said that the civil rights movement," and I'm like,
things have changed.
I've got things now that. I don't. Let's go ahead and expire that in 5 years. I don't want that.
Let's put that to bed.
So that's a cool feature that we'll be able to use.
There was one feature I didn't like about it though, was how it bumps what it deems important email to the top. But it did have a caveat, which it does this per day. So it sees what email has come in for the day. It sees what it thinks is most important based off of your heuristics or whatever, and then bumps that to the top. So you always keep it kind of at the focus. I don't like my mail being messed with. I keep like a visual record in my mind.
Yeah, that's my to-do list.
Of where things are, and if you screw with it, I'm gonna have a hard time. I didn't like it when Outlook did that with the conversations or whatever, and it started grouping because I was like, no, how do you turn this off?
Yeah, where did that
turn
that
this
message
off
go?
now?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I haven't clicked the button yet in Gmail to allow that new version, but I think I'll go ahead and give it a shot.
Other thing I did like though was that it is going to be doing a much more obvious. We think this is spam alert, right? So it will be much larger and in your face, like this is probably spam, and that's going to be very helpful because people are clicking on spam like it's the greatest thing to do.
Well, that's a better system than what
or phishing. I mean spam phishing
emails.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that's a better system than our company uses here for junk mail, where it basically just says every fifth message. I'm just going to say that's
you
junk
mean
mail.
As Angie calls it, inbox 2.0.
Yeah. Always check. Did you check your second inbox today? Because
that's where check that.
That's where your stuff is. So if you emailed us about the podcast, I'm sorry.
It might be in inbox
It's junk
too.
mail. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our security section for this week. Our first great news if you have a Carphone. This one's on SecurityWeek.com. 5.9 million card details accessed in Dixon's Carphone Hack. So I'm not in the UK. I know several of our listeners are, but apparently that's a company. Dixon's Carphone.
They take credit cards.
A household name in the UK. So yeah, if you're buying a Carphone, or I'm sure they sell other products now, you might have been hacked. And what's interesting to me is this is the first big one that I've read about since GDPR. And this is right there in the UK. So I wonder, I mean, this is talking about a breach going back to July 2017. So it makes me wonder, are they liable for that stuff beforehand?
So I think that is like the big conversation about this is there is data that was on there before GDPR. So do we find them according to GDPR? Do we find them according to the previous stipulations that were in act at that time? And the difference is one of, let me see if I can find it. It's between, here we go, either 4% of its annual global revenue, here we go, which would be 10.5 billion euros or $14 billion, or under the Data Protection Act of 1998, the maximum fine would be $670,000.
Yeah, they're like, let's do the first one.
They're like, I like that.
Well, why didn't they announce this on May 24th? Right before. Oh, we've been hacked.
Yeah, because they didn't know.
How did they not know if it's been going on for a year?
When you're a company that's very large and you got a large attack surface, it can be a daunting task. And this is why things like bug bounties and external penetration tests and doing rounds of vulnerability assessment are extremely important, but hard to figure out and do from time to time. So sometimes you get caught with your. Now, they could just have been completely negligent and going, yeah, we're good. Okay. And they didn't see the indicators of compromise or the attack that was happening. I don't know if they technically got compromised. Yeah. It's possible, I think it says, that these things
question
happen.
Is people in the UK are spending $14 billion on Carphone.
So they're not. Yeah, it's a merger between two different companies, Dixon's Electronics or something, and something Carphones. They became Dixon Carphone.
Now, in my mind, they sell exclusively Carphones.
Like, yeah, it was like, you need a bag phone right here.
The phones that are physically attached.
That's right, to the car,
in the car, and have a cable and the little antenna.
You know
on
what
the roof
though?
of the car.
Great reception.
Amazing
because they used it's all about power.
Yeah.
And when the phone is actually plugged into the car's power source,
those bars go
there's
up.
nowhere you can go in the world at this point where that would not get service.
Yeah. It's like basically you have a sat phone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our next place that is giving all your information away, this one on bleepingcomputer.com. Firmware vulnerabilities disclosed in Supermicro server products. So this is not my credit card then, right?
No,
this
I
is
hope not.
Just all the data on my Supermicro server.
Yeah, if you got a Supermicro server, you might be vulnerable to it.
Yeah, I'm using that for my crypto
I've got
mining
two
now,
of them. Yeah,
because I got rid of the Intel.
Great deal.
When it was overclocked.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I picked one of these up while we were chatting.
So it says the malware can modify descriptor region settings. The first of the flaws uncovered by Eclipsium researchers is not an actual vulnerability in the firmware's code, but in the configuration of some Supermicro products. So that's an important distinction, that this isn't a problem with the firmware, but a problem in how you might be setting it up. Right? So if you do a configuration in a certain way, then you would be open to a vulnerability or a threat. Right?
So reboot your Supermicro server.
Yeah, hit the default button. Go back, do it the right way next time. Right?
Eclipsium sounds like a cryptocurrency
It
too,
does,
doesn't
it? Oh, how much Eclipsium do you have?
My
I've
Eclipsium
mined a
just-
bunch today. If I could just get that overclocked
Yeah.
28 core.
Oh, and I read
5
something.
gigahertz.
This is unrelated completely, but that iOS is going to, or has said in the App Store that there will be no crypto mining apps. So you can't mine on your phone, which is great because your phone would explode. I think. Why is it so hot in my pocket? Oh, I'm mining Eclipsium.
Yeah. This is all made up, by the way. There is no such thing as Eclipsium.
No, there is. Buy it from me.
Yeah. Peter will sell it to you
I'm
cheap.
I'm doing an initial coin offering.
That's right.
For Eclipsium very soon. All right. Anything more on that one before I move on to the next one? Are you good?
No firmware authentication. I think it's all right. If you have Supermicro servers, you probably want to check this out a little further.
Yeah, take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought mine at Dixon's Carphone recently.
Great deal.
Yeah,
He used
super good.
Eclipsium to buy it.
It was $14 billion.
Yeah. 14 billion Eclipsium.
Okay,
Yeah.
Which is like nothing.
Yeah.
All right, our next one. I love the names that they give. I want to be the guy that gets to name the next malware or whatever. But the ZipZip vulnerability. First of all, that's the headline of this article. ZipZip vulnerability.
Yeah.
So ZipZip is
on
a
TMZ.
widespread arbitrary file overwrite critical vulnerability. So explain this to me. This is I shouldn't zip things anymore, or
No,
unzip them?
it's not that you shouldn't zip them. Zipping is fine. It's a dandy little item that we all love and enjoy to keep archive stuff down to minimum file size until we need it, and we expand it so we can see the files inside the zip. The problem comes in with this. This is actually not a new thing. This is something that's been around before. It'll probably be around again because all things old are new again kind of thing that's happening nowadays. But basically what's happening is if you are not inside of like a web app or a program that you're creating, if you're not checking to make sure that the path that is being used to unzip files is controlled, then you might be vulnerable to this type of attack. And what's happening is you can put in a bunch of, so there's something called directory traversal, which is where you're able to basically go through the file directory back from wherever you're at to the root and then travel down to another area of the file system. You do this by adding a bunch of dots and slashes. So if you see dot slash, you might be familiar with this if you've ever been in the command line at all, where you say cd ... and it backs you up.
I have not been in the command line.
So this will, when I say backs you up, it means it takes you up one level. So if I'm in C users D Lowry and I do cd ... it will take me to C users. And if I do cd ... again, take me back to the root. Well, if you do enough of these dot slashes, obviously it will take you to the root of the system. And then from there, you can say, well, take me to this area of the file system. That's what. So you put that out. So I wanted to go into System 32. I would go into Windows, System 32, and then whatever the file is. So therein lies the danger. So what is happening is these boundaries aren't being checked, and therefore people are able to craft specific payloads to say, yeah, get out of that file and create a file, or the directory that I'm unzipping these files to, and create a file in another area of the system. And it's exploit code. Yeah, it's just, I'm going to put that there. And then I want you to run that. So this is the danger of this ZipZip utility. You can read the article. It's very easy to follow, and we'll give you a lot of great information about it and how it works. There's even a technical white paper, so if you want to get really super techie on it, you can. They do a great job with that. Shows you the flow and how this works. Here you are, you're seeing all these dot slash down to temp/evil.sh, which would be your exploits. And then you can fire it off. And you see file F equals new file, telling what destination. And you see this is truncated in some way. It's not checking the exact path that it should be following, leading them open to the problem there. So if you have a web app and you use some sort of unzipping utility for whatever reason, you might want to go in there and make sure all your paths are verified and checked and to be specifically what you want them to be, so that these people can't work around. A bad actor couldn't work around it using the ZipZip type of vulnerability.
Well, I had a couple questions to ask you there, but you covered them as you went on. So well done.
Hey,
well done.
How about that?
So let's move on now to our next slightly political story, and I will see if I can get Daniel to bite. So this one from the failing New York Times. Sorry.
I don't want death threats over net neutrality, okay?
Apple to close iPhone security hole that law enforcement uses to crack devices. So this kind of goes way back to, I think, the San Bernardino case where there was the fight in courts of the FBI telling Apple, you need to crack this phone for us, and them saying no. And while they were fighting this out, the FBI said, you know what, never mind, we don't need you anymore. We found someone who can crack it. And then this tool that they use to crack the device apparently has kind of become more and more available to different law enforcement. And so now Apple is saying, all right, we're patching that hole, essentially, in our next release, and you can't get in anymore. So Daniel, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. I understand like Apple wanting to say we're keeping our users' data private, but if your user is involved in known criminal activity, I think that at that point they probably forfeit their right to privacy, which is why prisoners don't have a right to privacy because they've done an illegal act and therefore have forfeited those certain rights. This is why we have like subpoenas and warrants.
Well, Daniel, this is an international company.
It is
what's
an
illegal in Saudi Arabia.
But it goes back to like the GDPR thing.
Sure.
Right? So if you are a company in the US and you have a user base that's in the EU, then you have to be GDPR compliant. We do business in your scope of law. If you're doing business in our scope of law, you have to conform to those practices. Otherwise, don't do business with us.
Yeah.
Right. And some people with GDPR have opted to do that and say, I just won't open my borders up to.
I'll close off my site to the EU.
Exactly. Until I can better handle being able to work in that environment. If I can't, then I just won't until I can. And it seems like that would be the case here. We have criminal activity that's happening. I get it. They're saying that like Big Brother's out there and they're watching. They just want every way they can to get in.
But there should be checks and balances in there.
Exactly.
I think my worry,
probable cause has to be come into play.
Sure. Yeah. My worry is if the FBI, if law enforcement has a tool that they can use to get into iPhones, not that they'll abuse it, but if they've got that tool, somebody else has that tool as well, and whether it is leaked out from there or other bad actors.
It's a tangled web we weave because you're absolutely right. And this has happened where the NSA had all these cool 0-day exploits or whatever that they had a whole file, or it was the CIA. I can't remember if it was NSA or CIA, but it got leaked.
Yeah.
And now those are being used in campaigns right now for bad actors, right? So it's a total concern. You have to bring that in the case. It's a sticky situation. I think that if we had better security around, I say companies, organizations like the NSA, CIA, FBI, and stuff like that, even though everybody's trying to do the best they can. I mean, we saw China just got a hold of some Navy specifications by hacking a DoD subcontractor, right? So they're finding ways to get in because there's a lot more lax security. So it is a real concern that Peter has to say, yeah, the NSA is going to keep it under lock and key, but the guy that's watching it leaves the key on the hook, and walks away from the door. So there is that concern. I mean, we
this
have
is
to
going to
be able
end
to
up
fight crime. It's a tough situation. Yeah,
this is going to end up in the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
someday.
and it's going to end up siding with the federal government.
It'll be interesting to see because next time something happens where they need to get in, this and they can't now because the tool they used last time doesn't work.
Correct.
We're going to see this go all the way up, and it's going to be an interesting.
And don't
battle.
get me wrong, they are straight up right now as we speak trying to find another way to get into modern phones, which they will do eventually. They won't tell us about that because that would violate the whole idea of keeping that a secret.
Yeah.
So.
It's stealing our retinas. We all know that's what it is.
Come out. We're here for your eyeball.
Yeah, we're taking a photo of your eyeball. Perfect.
Don't mind us. Thank you, sir.
And they could take a photo of the eyeball with our next story here from Ars Technica. This is a new phone. The Vivo will actually sell, or Vivo is the company, I'm sorry, will actually sell a smartphone with a pop-up front camera. And to me,
how cool is that?
That's pretty cool because you think about, I was thinking about it from a security standpoint. I've got one of these little webcam covers on my computer, and I know some people actually, put the tape or whatever on their phone for the front-facing camera, or both. This kind of eliminates that, and it also gets rid of that little notch that's on the new iPhones, where you've still got the speaker there, but they could put that on the top probably.
Yeah.
But you've got the camera down there and that little notch on the front, so. This is a way to hide that away and get more screen and
I mean, look at that edge to edge, man. That is sweetness right
That's pretty.
there. That's nice because you don't have to notch it out right here like on my Samsung. Like basically, about from here to here is not screen.
Yeah, I've got the iPhone X now that has the little pop down in the top there. But it's
mechanical too. It's not like. I don't think it's spring loaded. I think it kind of like
really?
You got like gears or something inside.
Like a Mazda Miata headlight.
Hopefully, anyway, that would be super awesome.
Yeah. Well, what worries me about this is it makes it more difficult for me to secretly take photos of you.
Yes.
Daniel, from
Yes.
across the room.
Yeah.
You're like, I see your camera's up, buddy.
What are you doing?
I know what you're on to.
What are you doing?
Yeah, but it would help me with the guy Chris on our team that likes to put everything we do on Snapchat.
Oh.
So now I'll know he's filming.
Yeah.
If he gets, I'm going to buy him a Vivo.
Yeah, you should. It's only $700.
Feature is next. Oh, never mind. I will just be on Snapchat all the time against my
That's right.
my better judgment.
That's right.
Well, let's get to our last story of the day, our fun little story that we want to talk about. It's Father's Day, and Father's Day is this weekend or this past weekend, depending on when you're listening to the Technado here.
Dad builds Deathtrap.
Dad kills son. Mad scientist dad just won Father's Day by building his son a jet-powered scooter, which to me is against Father's Day. The son should be building the dad a jet-powered scooter.
That's
right. But regardless, this dad made a really cool little thing. And what's neat about this article is there's a video down there where he really gets into a how-to. So if you have a 3D printer and an unlimited budget, you too.
And are good at computer-aided drafting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And you don't care about the well-being of your children.
Yeah.
You
Where's
too
that kid's
can build
helmet?
this scooter. So I know you've got a couple little ones there. So
I do.
You big Father's Day plans?
I'm gonna have steak.
Oh, I like that.
I love a prime rib.
But this is not like the kids are going to cook the
ribeye.
steak and bring you breakfast in bed.
No, I
Dad.
think actually I probably am cooking it myself.
Good. Yeah. You're like, Father's Day is I need you guys to go in that other room
and
I'm
just
gonna,
not come out.
I'm going to eat this steak in
Yeah.
silence. That sounds nice. Yeah, my
I'm
daughter
gonna
and I
watch
did.
Predator.
We did Father's Day last weekend because she's doing a trip this
that's
weekend.
cool.
But it was fun. We went to a baseball game
Yeah.
and did that whole thing. So that was a good time. But congratulations, happy Father's Day to all you dads out there.
Yes.
And check out this article on Gizmodo and build yourself a
Buy a $10,000
jet-powered
3D
scooter.
printer and
Yeah. And
$8,000
while
worth
you're
of-
at it, 3D print a helmet.
yeah.
If you
Just saying.
Because I don't think the kid's wearing one in this video. Which I'm thinking
Maybe it's like, when you watch cars in a
He's
high
not,
speed chase on TV and he's really doing like half a mile an hour.
they could have sped this
They
up.
just spit it up.
I
Yeah.
see the wind in his hair.
Yeah.
And the
Ooh.
excitement on his face. He's moving.
Why is he holding that broken bag of glass?
It's a prism. It teaches about light refraction.
yeah. Look at this, Dad.
Man, that was great.
Yeah.
That SNL.
Fun.
Well, thank you so much for watching the Technado here today. And if you like what you saw, please leave a comment, leave a review, share it with your friends. Really appreciate if you do that. If you didn't like it, keep that to yourself, as always. And if you'd be so nice as to take a look at our sponsor, ITProTV. We have a coupon code, podcast30. You can get 30% off your subscription to ITProTV and learn all about everything IT and be as knowledgeable as Mr. Daniel Lowry here. I am the before, and that is the after. So I should really go watch a few of the ITProTV courses and pick all that up. But thank you, everybody, for watching. And any closing thoughts there, buddy?
Wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet. And we'll have Don back next week. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but
It's going to be jet lag.
It's news. It's news for you. So we'll see you all then, and happy Father's Day, everybody.